This is Lauren.
This is Trey.
And this
is the Partnership Podcast.
Just wanted to include a trigger warning before we start this podcast. There's some talk of non-consensual touching, just in case you wanted to turn this off. Just wanted you to be informed.
You're much more of a Britney expert than I am.
Wait, are we talking Britney Spears?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. It's a...
But Circus is her song, correct?
It's the only thing I can play on the piano.
Are you serious?
But it's literally like 3 seconds of a note.
Gentle audience, welcome to yet another podcast. I'm going to call it a podcast where Trey and I learn things about one another.
Whatever.
Babe, we have gotten great feedback from the one where we talk about connecting. What do you want when you want sex, right? Connection, feeling pleasure, feeling wanted, and escape. Yeah, people are like, this is downright funny. Because you two are like, what?
Was that our last pod?
Was that our last pod or was that 2 pods ago?
I don't know.
No, maybe it was this. Yeah, I don't know. Listen, we sit in the chairs, we talk. Good morning.
Morning.
It's early, y'all. We do these early on a Wednesday, but it's our preference. And then, we go right into our days. What do you want to talk about, baby?
I wonder if that got picked up. What's going on with you?
My tummy's talking, apparently.
Yeah, you need some food.
What did you call it when you wanted to say that you wanted to give yourself some props? What was it the other day where then we talked about the golf and how you explained your, you gave yourself permission before even going into the golf game.
Yeah.
I think that we as a partnership deserve some props. I think we navigated some really hard things this weekend with tools and with resources. And I thought we could talk about how beautiful it is in long-term partnership to have gone through something, but knowing you're not helpless, like knowing you have all these tools and resources. And one of the things that we committed to from day one was we will not be each other's everything. We will not be. We will not put that pressure on one another to be the whole community. Esther Perel talks about this a shit ton, that for centuries, people existed in communities in which they never required their partner, their spouse, to also be all of these other things to them. And throughout time, especially in the United States of America, we become more and more insular, right? We drive into our little closed door garage. We go inside of our house. No one knows about our marriage struggles. No one knows about our things. And this weekend we went on a sexy vacay that had some unexpected bumps in the road. And I don't know about you, but I felt so well-resourced to navigate through some of these shitty things that we could not have anticipated. These were not caused by us. And I am just so immensely proud of us. I teach all the time that when a couple commits to try something new or a partnership, throuple, all of the different polycule setups, it is actually not about the success of the thing that they set out to do together that creates the new neural pathway. It is about doing the thing. And that if you go in with the mindset of, this is good for us, no matter how this turns out, it can still be incredibly bonding. It can still be incredibly connecting. You can still make new memories and have new adventures. And I feel like we did that despite some really hard shit that popped up. That's my take. What's your take?
Yeah, agreed. We're pretty good when shit hits the fan. Like, we're good at closing the loop, or we got a lot of tools now, and we actually use them. So it's not just theory; we actually put them into practice. And then, pardon the analogy, they just get sharper. So,
yeah. How are you feeling?
I dealt with a lot of anger yesterday, but it was like, I am so good at pointing blame and anger inward. So I'm very good at blaming myself. I got to learn from a young age. I got to see a mom, bipolar, who would rage at other people and just destroy relationships. Long-term friends, family members, the gas person. So I learned very, very young as a child that you don't do that if you really want to. If you want to offend people, sure, fire away. So I learned not to do that. So my anger and rage goes inside, and I'm filtering that out through. I try to do it daily, and then I'm trying to endow it as like the most important thing I do on a daily basis, which is my structured meditation, going from one exercise to another that takes approximately 20 minutes that I listen to. I've got little MP3, little earphones, so I don't fuck with my phone in the morning. And one of the things I'm uninstalling in my computer hard drive in my mind is frustration leads to anger, anger leads to rage. And yesterday I was just really, really angry. And it was like, huh. And it's so funny because like that led to more disappointment in myself, where it's like, dude, this is like your superpower right now, where you're being nice to yourself. Where did it go today? And then it's like, fuck it, it's allowed to go places. So yesterday was a challenge.
Do you think any of the anger was connected to the events of this weekend?
I'm sure it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there in your body, this is a person who's learning about anger, so from the newbie, are there appropriate forms of anger?
Yeah.
Like, because I hear you say you witnessed from a young age your mom
Yeah.
just being angry. And I'm sure in many of these instances, wise little Trey was like, that was not a reason to yell, like at the person pumping gas or whatever, right? Like, that was not justified. Are there, in your expertise on rage and anger, instances where that is justified?
Like actually like
Yelling at someone.
spazzing? Yeah, probably. Like the way you did it, like you do a rage drive or like a yelling, singing car drive. I think that's very appropriate. What I wanted to do yesterday was take my Hybrid 5 and break it on my golf bag in front of everyone and then throw my clubs, and I could see myself doing that. And then what prevented me was how fucking embarrassing I would be that guy, and then I'd ruin everybody else's experience or just interrupt it. Where it's like, this guy's freaking out on a golf course. What a douchebag. So that prevented me from doing all that. And plus, I don't want to replace that stuff. I like that, and I need that.
Our incredible coach, mentor, colleague, therapist extraordinaire told me this weekend when you arranged a time in the middle of our romantic weekend for me to have a 2-hour therapy session. So listen, y'all, shout out. These two in these chairs, I think it can be so easy on social media to look at people and be like, wow, I just want a relationship like Lauren and Trey. And it's
Have you heard this fucking podcast?
do you listen? Make sure you are listening.
Yeah, make sure go back and listen to these fucking. There's some
Go
awkward
back to
shit that
some
we
really
say.
early ones.
This shit takes work.
Yes, and it took work on Saturday, which is one of the things that I am working through now is sadness, disappointment that this weekend was supposed to be.
It was hijacked.
Yeah, and this weekend literally felt stolen from us. And then we were repairing things that had been done to us, which then, of course, y'all, when things are done to a person inside of a partnership, it is much easier to turn the rage on the one there in the relationship, right? So anyway, or self. And so in the 2-hour therapy session that I had mid-romantic weekend, one of the things she said to me that was so impactful was there is justifiable righteous anger that you are feeling right now that deserves to be directed outward. Be very cautious of letting it go inward. Try as hard as you can to get this shit out of your body and direct it towards what it should be directed towards. Because if not, it is going to be very likely, and that's what I spent Friday night doing, right? Perseverating on what could I have done differently? What did I do wrong? Where could I have made a better choice? All of these types of things. That is self-criticism, that is self-blame, that was so angry at self. And yeah, so it got me really thinking about, sometimes the anger, even if it's not verbalized directly to the person, but it needs to come out. It does need to come out. And yeah, I just wondered, in your, again, expertise, if there are times where anger should be moved through and out towards something else.
I'm still learning.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Time really fucking helps everything. Not pushing it down, not disassociating, not making excuses for it. Not thinking about it. That can be helpful. You can't think about it all fucking day, though. There's so much nuance to all this shit. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes it's hard to talk about. But
can I ask you about something that I noticed myself doing? And tell me what your experience was of it. And I'm curious if the audience has ever had similar experiences. But I had a hard time getting angry about the thing that happened to me. And yet what I really needed and wanted was to rage. I wanted to be angry at something subconsciously. And so I could feel myself, and I think I tried to say this Friday night, but like I could feel myself not picking fights, but almost like pushing, making my target you instead of the other thing. I'm curious what your experience was there. Could you feel me doing that? Yeah. And how did you handle that?
I knew you were going through something, and I had to kind of reassure myself that I didn't do anything wrong. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah,
even though I was acting like you did something wrong.
Not yes and no. I'd say more no than yes. You were just angry. You're allowed to be angry, and I happen to be sleeping next to you. Mm-hmm. This is by choice. I can leave.
Yeah. It's just such a common thing. And it's hard. And I wanted us to say it out loud that it's a thing that happens where instead of being angry at the right thing, not the right thing, the thing that happened, the person that harmed you, the instance, the work thing, the whatever it is, we can choose to be angry at the one closest to us because it's safest in our psyche, right?
Yeah.
It's like, well, this is safer.
It's one of the reasons why we declare, like out loud, hypothetical, we just woke up. I'm in a pissy mood. I have to do this, this, and this is what I'm thinking about, and this is why I may feel a little distant. Babe, it's nothing you've done.
Yeah, just made me horny.
Yeah, the previous podcast, when you were annoyed in the morning and we were having sex, and you're annoyed at my stroke. You were annoyed at my pleasure factory.
It was.
But we talked about it afterward.
Yeah.
And then as we get better, we can talk about it actually while it's going on, which is, I mean, it's...
Well, that's what I was going to say. That's what I really want to celebrate from this weekend now in this body today, okay? Is that we have had difficult weekends before. Anniversary trip, y'all go back and listen to the episode all about like vacations gone wrong. We were struggling. We could not, we were just trying to find, right? We were like in a whirlwind and knew there were tools out there and somehow just couldn't find them in our bodies. And I'm so fucking proud of how we navigated. How long were we gone?
7 days.
No. On the weekend we just had. Like
48 hours, maybe 48 hours.
72 hours.
Friday afternoon, we got back Sunday afternoon, so 48 hours, honey.
And don't you think we used some of our tools more in the moment than we had before?
Oh yeah, we had to pull out all the shit that
all
we knew.
of the bells and whistles.
And then we had to get outside help too from like a trusted third party.
In the moment.
Yeah.
And I just thought Lauren and Trey a couple years ago wouldn't have known how to do that.
No, we're better.
That's wild.
We're better.
And I think I said this to you that I spend a lot of time talking with parents when I do sexuality education for parents. And I'm really clear to say right up front that I'm going to give you lots of tools, lots of evidence-based information, scientifically and medically accurate. I need you to understand that no amount of information can protect your child from all harm in the world. All we can do is create open channels of communication so that our children can readily come to us and know that they are not helpless, because trauma is only stored in the body when we have fear and helplessness combined. Trauma equals fear plus helplessness. We can't keep traumatic things from happening in this world. We can know that we are not helpless in those moments. And that again and again kept coming to me this weekend of a thing happened that we did not anticipate. And in the moment, there were some helpless feelings for me. I did feel helpless. But we so quickly, and shout out to you, babe, said, hey, can we get our coach on the phone tomorrow? And my body said yes. And we got help and we started moving into it and through it. We can't predict, right? Everything that's going to happen in life. You cannot predict what's going to happen on the golf course. We cannot. What we can do is say, okay, wait, fear plus helplessness. I might feel afraid because this feels new and I don't know what just happened, but I am not helpless. I want our audience to know that we are not alone. There is so much help out there. There's free help on the internet, through YouTube, through podcasts, through so many beautiful things, through different audio recordings that you could use. You put on a sleep track for me at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
It was like a
guided meditation.
A guided
Just
meditation to
something on YouTube.
sleep.
Yeah.
Y'all, because I couldn't sleep. My brain was perseverating. I was really in a dark, dark place. And Trey would say, is there anything I can do to help? And I leaned on good old Wheel of Consent, Dr. Betty Martin, of what do I need? What do I need? You've got to ask for it, Lauren. He does not know. And was like, it felt, everything that I asked for felt silly, literally laughable. And I had to just say, it's what comes to mind.
Did you have to go through your being too much? The thought of I'm being too much and I'm blowing this out 100%. Of proportion.
Lauren, if you just push this down, you guys could go on and have a great weekend. I'm a good actor. I could have pretended, and I spent a decade doing that. I can't do it anymore. Because what happens is I have this compartment in my body. And if I want to, I can take the thing that happens and I can put it in that compartment and I can lock the lid and I can go on. I could have made it not affect me. I could have 100% gone. I could have found the pleasure in the weekend. And what happens is that gets stored in my body and put away. And then I start to believe that I am not worth it being on the table, it being out in the open. And then I start telling this whole narrative about myself in general. There's not enough space for me. I don't deserve these things. This whole narrative starts forming about what I am deserving of.
So we were at a Tantra event over the weekend, and it's about sensuality and breath and how we can connect more. And there were a lot of different couples. We were going through a lot of exercise, and these exercises with other people, and it was wonderful. There was this one exercise where you have to close your eyes. Anyway, Lauren got touched non-consensually over her clothing, and then the administrators tasked with protecting these things and putting up boundaries failed us. So that's what we had to move through all weekend. Instead of it being our weekend, it turned into repair for some non-consensuality. Yeah, it was a gentleman that did it, and it, by all accounts, when we were looking back at hindsight, this guy was predatory. He ended up in all of Lauren's different breakout circles during discussion and all these things. He introduced himself first, so I had to go through not punching the guy in his face, where it's, why didn't I? I know logically why you shouldn't, or storming out, or doing all these things, or yelling at these people. It's not in my nature, and I don't think it solves a lot. But yeah, I had to go through, why aren't you protecting your wife better? Why didn't you see this coming? Which is, I don't think that's fair. It's easy to say all that. I'm very good at pointing inward. But it's not fair. Yeah, and I've been told by you, I've been told by our doctor that, like, it's that person and it's there to blame. I understand that. It's a lot easier to blame myself for either preventative of not going in the space at the first place, not opening ourselves up like so. 'Cause a lot of it was very beautiful. It was about connection. And then it was, yeah, you were taken advantage of. And then the accountability was so low.
On everybody's.
Yeah, on everybody's part, the accountability was so fucking low. And then we went into, instead of this being about us and getting away, and like, we had a beautiful Airbnb next to a lake, and instead of it being about this like wonderful, joyous like weekend that we've looked forward to, and we got to go on a drive, there's some lovely parts, but it got hijacked. And it's reminiscent to when we hijack it ourselves. And this was definitely an FFT. In my wildest dreams, some guy groping my wife during an exercise, not about sexuality. But sensuality or exploration.
Yeah. No, it wasn't. It was made to be a beautiful sensory experience. Yeah. And he broke the rules.
Yeah, took advantage of you
3 times.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah. Yeah, I speak often of like primary loss, secondary loss, tertiary loss. And I think the primary loss was the experience there in that moment, right? Jump, taken. Then there is the experience of our weekend. Jump, taken, changed in that moment. And then, tertiary loss, yeah, all of these other like kind of ripple effects of now what we're dealing with, right? Me being exhausted yesterday after we should have had this like restful weekend. Like it was meant to be full of joy and celebration and connection between the two of us. And no, it wasn't that at all. It was, we worked as hard as we could. We used every tool that we could to immediately do care, like provide care for my body and my mind. And that's sad. We should grieve. We should mourn. And in my Jack Moran 7 Steps to Sexual Healing, there's this concept of when you're in the gray zone, the next step is to come to your senses, which I feel like we did a lot of work to try to come back to our senses. And then it's mourn your losses. There is a necessary step of mourning what you have lost before you can risk the unfamiliar and integrate your discoveries. It sucks. It just does. I spent years going through trauma that nobody saw and then stuffing it down and going back to my real life the next day. And it did untold damage on my mind and my body. I cannot do that. Will not do that. Which means sitting in the fragility, sitting in the vulnerability, sitting in the untidiness, sitting in the sensitivity for a while as this heals, right? We can put bandages on things. We can tend to the wound very well. We can make sure it's clean. But there's a wound there. Something was taken from me. My boundaries were crossed. My body experienced terror. That will not be rushed. And that's sad. That's sad. And yeah, I had to experience in my head, what could I have done differently? What could I have done differently? How could I have protected myself? Why did I choose to check my professional credentials at the door? Why didn't I stay more on guard? Why did I think that this was going to be a beautiful evening to heal mother wound trauma because it was the anniversary of her death? And in all the opening exercises, I had this like beautiful heart moment of like, oh my goodness, what if tonight I allow these women to like just love on me and provide this like nurturing mother care, because there's such a disconnection for those who know my upbringing, right? Between the maternal kind of stepping on. No, you cannot be in your sensuality, right? Because it is a woman's job to protect a man from falling and from being tempted and all of this stuff. And so as I stood in this circle and they asked us to like think of someone who had harmed us as a child, right? My mother bubbled up and I did this whole forgiveness exercise simply through eye gazing. Again, so much of it was beautiful. And boy, do I want to punish myself for opening my heart and my solar plexus that much. I just want to be like, how stupid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep. Because I think the instance wouldn't have hurt that much if I had been more guarded, right? And damn it, but that is not the lesson I'm going to take away from this thing. I will not let that be the case. That tendency to be like, I should have. I know where that comes from. And I will not let that voice win. I refuse. And I might be a little uncomfortable and unpalatable for a little while to myself. I think that's the person whom I will be most intolerable, insufferable to. Because for those who know like different modalities, I'm an Enneagram 3. I don't like to feel my feelings. I am a human design generator with a completely undefined solar plexus. I don't even know what feelings are. And so to me, all of this emotion feels like insufferable. Thank goodness gracious. And I know people are going to giggle because they're like, but Lauren, you cry on the podcast all the time. I cry like tears of emotion about a thing, or I cry in most client sessions because I have this ability to like zoom into the story. But my own feelings are really hard for me to access. Yeah. How did it feel as a partner to reach outside of our unit for help?
I'm used to it. Feels good.
Did it feel at all? These are just things I hear from clients sometimes, like humiliating that you couldn't be everything to me.
It's not my job.
Okay.
I will fail at that every single time if my job is I need to be everything all at once. Everywhere all at once. Is that a movie?
Yes.
Shout out to Paramount Pictures.
It's like A24, but that's okay.
Huh?
Continue.
Let's get back to this one. No, that's not my job. That was our mantra when we first met and fell in love.
Yep.
We can't be each other's everything. And we choose interdependence versus codependence.
Yes. Fuck.
It's a recipe for absolute disaster if my mindset goes to I need to fix all of this. I'm resourced. I've got tools. They're getting better.
Yeah.
But like certain shit is not my job. Even when it's something lighter than this, things are not my job. I don't want to do all of it because I'll get pissed. If it's all my job, I will get fucking pissed off because it's like, is this a partnership or am I now like a waiter? Mm-hmm. Am I now a waiter, maid, moneymaker, provider?
Yeah.
Same thing with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No good.
If I go into the basement and I just start drinking, I don't come out, you're gonna get pissed.
Yeah. How did it feel when I did do a rage drive? Shout out to Spotify for the soundtrack Broadway, but make it angry. There are people out there. Shout out to Ragtime Reference if anybody got that one. Anyway, I dropped you off. Where had we even been? Our hike. We went on a beautiful hike.
Yeah,
that was a modality that we used.
Sure.
Moving our body. My goodness, that was gorgeous.
Outside, nature, moving our body, get
Water.
the sun.
Yeah, we put our feet in the water. At the little lake thing.
We brought snacks.
Yeah.
It's great.
Okay, but then I dropped you off and I said, I need to do a rage drive.
Yeah.
How did that feel? Was that...
Great.
Okay.
Yeah, you're processing, you're working shit through your body. Mm-hmm. I don't want to be in the car when you do a rage drive either. So it works out perfectly.
Yeah. So I put loud music on. That works really well. There's research that shows that the reverberations of singing, do a certain thing to help reset your body. And I swear by it. I swear by yelling works too, but there's something about singing versus yelling that's just really good for the nervous system. And you don't have to be a good singer, y'all. You can just like pretend sing. But that felt really good. And then I went and did some rage journaling by the lake, again, alone. Did you feel it all, I don't know, any kind of way that I spent so much alone time like that afternoon?
No, I like it. Mm-hmm. No.
Yeah.
We spend so much fucking time together as it is. I think we need more of it. Because like the last thing, when I was so angry yesterday, the last thing I wanted to do was be around anybody else. Because I didn't want to go to the guys at the clubhouse and start fucking complaining that I've had a bad day. It's like, fuck all that shit. Yeah. Just get in your car, let it move through you. Have a couple of Coors Lights, maybe an edible, and...
Do you rage sing?
Huh?
How do you let sound? Do you let sound out of you?
Yeah, but usually it's motherfucker. It's screaming.
Okay.
I will scream.
We need to get you a rage singing soundtrack.
I'm good. I don't like screaming though. I don't like doing that because
I know. That's why I said rage singing.
It's really good for the nervous system.
Yes.
Where you do calm down, but like I want to calm down other ways other than screaming out loud. I'm just not into it.
Babe, it could help your Broadway career.
I'm going to be a straight actor. Pause.
We always joke that I've had this dream to be on Broadway since I was a little child and that Trey's going to swoop in here and upstage my dreams.
You know how angry my wife would be? She wouldn't even be happy for me. I'll book something on Broadway just to spite you.
Oh my goodness.
Just to say I could.
It just makes us giggle.
Then I'll turn it down. I go, you can't afford me.
What a weekend. I want to attune to for just a second that we kind of skipped over a lot of stuff, and this weekend was really, really hard and dark and difficult in my body. And yeah, I was in therapy for 2 hours sobbing my eyes out. And on high, I mean, it was a very dreary weekend. And I think, now we're telling the story a couple days out. It's still not healed, but please know that if your body is ever non-consensually touched, it's not okay. Consent always needs to be obtained, and it's an agreement formed between 2 or more people, as Dr. Betty Martin puts it. And I was not giving verbal confirmation or any form of confirmation, and someone took advantage of that. And it's not okay. And anyone listening to this who walks through this, I want you to know that you're not alone. And God, it is really fucking horrible. no matter how it happens, especially in a space that you think you're safe in. I'd like to name, as we close up, one of the most powerful moments of the weekend for me, though, which was after we had a very difficult hour-long conversation where my hair was air drying, where we were deciding whether or not to go back into the space because we had scheduled this thing.
It was a 2-day event.
Two-day event. And we were going back and forth, pros and cons, obviously, many cons. Why would we go back into a space where the night before, we had been not treated well? Yeah, and we eventually made the decision to go back. And for me, it was just important that I not fall into a victim narrative. I could feel in my body, no, other people don't get to decide. To choose that for me, to scare me away, that did not feel good. I didn't know anything past that, but I knew that did not feel good. Is there a certain reason, before we tell how things went, was there any certain reason that you were like, okay, yeah, I feel good to go back to?
I wanted to follow your lead.
Okay, yeah, that's what I could feel too, is that you were like, I'm just going to trust her on this one, and I'm going to lean in. The reason this was so transformational to me and is continually sticking out is that I've been harmed in other spaces before, never bodily, but mind, 100%, right? I mean, think of all the church horror stories I have, right? For instance, one of the things that comes to mind is the time that I was sat at a conference table with all these men and they told me that they would not release me from my marriage, right? Whoa, talk about a mind fuck.
What a bunch of cunts. That's
what
so
a bunch
funny.
of cunts. And I should have, this felt like a renegotiation, babe. The story that I'm about to tell felt like a renegotiation of all those times where I should have walked back into a space and done what we did. So Trey and I show up at this thing. And it was funny. The first night I kind of didn't know how to dress and just kind of was like, how would people dress for this thing? So I just kind of chose an outfit and it felt good, but didn't feel in my power. Okay. The second night I was like, fuck it. And I put this black lace thing on and I did a red lip and I just I wanted to feel powerful.
You looked hot as fuck.
Yeah. As did you.
Thank you.
And so the second night we go in, we're holding hands. We arrive. The people greeted us warmly. They greeted us with words of, you came back. Should have been telling, okay? So we set our stuff down and we go into the warm-up that's being led by the same person who had not taken accountability for having led an exercise yesterday that harmed me, okay? Took no fucking accountability for it. So he's leading this warm-up and he's doing all the same stuff that had been done the night before, I am sure. But we were in such a clearer mind space. It was as if putting on glasses,
sure.
Focused glasses. Trey and I are watching all these people warming up around us, which again, we had been a part of the night before, but now it's we have seen through. We have seen how people handle situations gone poorly. And we both look at each other. We're both kind of swaying our hips, but we both look at each other. And y'all, have you ever gotten the giggles in a time that's not appropriate to get the giggles?
This is the best time to get the giggles.
This is what came over me. I wanted to uproariously laugh at the ridiculousness and at my power to fucking walk out of a space like that.
Yep.
And so you and I kind of squeezed hands. We went into a little side room. We looked around. We said, this place is really beautiful. And then we said, you ready? And you said, let's go.
We got the fuck out of there. It was great.
We had been there for maybe 2 minutes.
Maybe.
And we just walked right by the facilitators and we said, we're leaving. And they said, oh, and we said, goodbye.
Thank you so much. Goodbye.
Thank you
Have a great night.
so much. We held our heads high.
Yeah, it was great. It was one of the highlights. It was the most connected I think I felt with you all weekend.
It was phenomenal.
It was an important moment in kind of closing the loop on this trauma circle.
You know how I talk about here, Peter Levine's, that our bodies are trying to heal their own trauma, but that we're reenacting instead of renegotiating.
Yeah.
So what I wish I could have done the previous night when I was being touched non-consensually is get out of this exercise, right? To say, stop, motherfucker, right? Or to laugh out loud and be like, ha ha, This is not a space for me. You people are unsafe, right? Goodbye, Trey, husband, darling, let's go. These people are not safe. Okay? That's what my body wishes it could have done. And I got to do a piece of that by going back in and not reenacting like I'm on the Civil War battlefield where the ending is all the same. I renegotiated. I got off the loop. I went into a space. I observed it for what it was. And then I said, huh. And then I left with my husband and felt really fucking powerful. And we drove around for a while. A storm came. It was beautiful. We went back to our Airbnb. Trey had surprised me and brought our Mario Kart, brought our Nintendo Switch. Mm-hmm. And so we made this incredible charcuterie board of all of our favorite snacks. And we played Mario Kart, and I whipped his ass.
She beat the fuck out of me. She was the state champion. In
our sexy clothes. Mm-hmm. We didn't even change.
It was great.
And then we started watching one of the NBA games and fell asleep on the couch.
It was perfect.
It felt like, so often we'll say like, I want to fix it. Like, I want to go back. This was supposed to be better. I want to go back to before. I want to redo. No, we don't get to do that. We get to integrate the things that have been done to us and we get to go forward.
It was a form of a redo. Going back into space and going, yeah.
Thank you for trusting me and going on my lead on that one. It might be one of the most powerful things I've ever done, frankly.
Good.
Because of my particular traumas of leaving spaces that do not treat me well, right? I should have left my sweet ex-husband. He did not treat me well. I should have left him at week 3.
Of your marriage?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, because the moment my mom died, something broke in him and he became an alcoholic. And I should have been like, this is not okay. You're not okay.
So week 3, how long did you stay with him?
10 years.
So we did a pretty good job this weekend.
We did, babe.
Yeah.
We did a really good job. So when I say, that it meant so much to me, that you followed my lead, my intuition, it was amazing. It's really amazing. So, yeah, thanks for talking about this with me. This was good. Every time I tell the story, the narrative gets a little bit clearer.
Good.
And a little less painful to talk about. And it's a sign in the right direction. But it's still a wound.
Yeah,
so thank you for having patience with it too. And protecting that, right? Really appreciate it. I love you.
Love you.
Thanks for coming to this episode of the Partnership Podcast. Can't even say the name of our own podcast with Lauren and Trey. Maybe I'll have Trey put a trigger warning at the beginning of this episode. Didn't know if we were going to talk about this today because we lean into our own intuition. Remember, these are our opinions, our lived experiences. You have a right to self-determination and informed decision-making. Please always trust your own intuition. It is the strongest voice that you have. If you would like to work with a sexuality educator, if you would like to bring in outside help into your partnership, I would be honored. Talk about a gift that we got to experience this weekend by working with someone who knew our story and could see both of us. It was the saving grace. You can go to sexedforyou.com/free consult. I would love to chat with you and see if we would be a good fit or refer you to somebody who would be a better fit. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Make sure to like and subscribe and share. Bye, y'all.